The research station floated in the darkness beyond Neptune's orbit, hidden from all sensors by layers of stealth technology. Inside, Dr. Bora stared at her computer screen with tired eyes. She had not slept properly in 3 days, but sleep could wait. What she was seeing changed everything. The Galactic Council had one rule that every species must follow above all others. Never touch dark matter, never study it beyond basic observation, never try to use it. The Council said this law kept the galaxy safe for 10,000 years. Every civilization obeyed without question. Humanity was different. When humans joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago, the alien species looked down on them. Humans were primitives who barely learned to travel between stars. The Council gave humanity the worst jobs in the worst territories. They treated humans like children who needed to be watched and controlled. But humans were clever. They learned fast, and they did not like being told what they could not do. Dr. Bora walked across the lab to where Dr. Hyun was checking readings on a large machine. The machine hummed quietly, containing something that should not exist. Inside a special chamber, dark matter was being held in place. Not just observed, not just measured, controlled. The readings are stable, Hyun said without looking up. We can maintain the field for 6 hours now before it destabilizes. Bora nodded. 6 hours was good. Last month they could only hold it for 20 minutes. Progress was happening faster than she dared hope. Taemin, the station's chief engineer, came running into the lab. His face showed excitement mixed with fear. The prototype is ready. Admiral Ji-won wants to see it now. They walked together through the station's corridors to the construction bay. The bay was massive, large enough to hold a warship. And it did hold one. The ship looked normal from outside. It had the same basic shape as other human military vessels. But what was inside made it completely different. Admiral Ji-won stood before the ship with her arms crossed. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had fought in the border wars against pirates and knew what real combat looked like. When she turned to face the scientist, her expression was serious. "Tell me this works," Ji-won said. It was not really a question. Bora stepped forward. The dark matter compression system is installed in the hull. When activated, the ship can shift partially out of normal space. Enemy sensors cannot detect it. Enemy weapons cannot hit it. And our weapons, she paused. Our weapons can fire from inside the phase state. Ji-won's eyes widened slightly. Meaning our weapons appear inside enemy ships. Their shields cannot stop what is already past them. Their armor is useless. The Admiral walked slowly around the prototype vessel. She reached out and touched its hull. Cold metal, normal and ordinary looking. But inside was technology that broke the fundamental laws of the galaxy. The Council will call this a crime, Ji-won said quietly. The Council abandoned us when the Thorian Empire claimed our colonies, Bora replied with heat in her voice. They did nothing when our people were threatened. They said it was not their problem. Well, this is our solution, Hyun added. We ran every test we could. The technology works. We can build more ships. We can defend ourselves. Taemin was less certain, but if the Council finds out, they might see it as an act of war. We would be breaking the Great Law. Ji-won turned to face all of them. The Council treats us like servants. They give us scraps and expect gratitude. Meanwhile, species like the Thorians prepare to take what little we have. If we do not have power, we have nothing. She walked to a control panel and activated the ship's systems. Lights came on throughout the vessel. The dark matter chambers began their startup sequence. A low hum filled the bay, a sound that made everyone's skin prickle with strange energy. We will test this ship in the Kuiper Belt, Ji-won announced, far from any observers. If it works as promised, we build more. We build a fleet that can protect humanity. Over the next 3 weeks, the prototype underwent secret trials. The ship that Bora's team named the Unseen Blade performed beyond all expectations. It could vanish from sensors completely. It could pass through solid matter while phased. Its weapons could strike targets that thought they were safe behind shields and armor. But far across the galaxy, someone noticed something strange. Vorath the Wise was an intelligence agent for the Council. His species, the Kilthari, had been part of the Council for 8,000 years. They were known for their careful observation and patience. Vorath had been watching the human territories for signs of trouble. At his station on the Council monitoring outpost, Vorath studied energy readings from the edge of human space. There were unusual fluctuations, brief moments when space-time seemed to ripple in ways that should not happen naturally. He enhanced the data and ran it through analysis programs. The computer could not identify the source. The readings made no sense according to known physics. But they were real. Voreth's old eyes narrowed. In his long life, he had seen many species try to hide secrets from the Council. The patterns were always similar. Unusual energy readings in remote locations, strange material shipments, unexplained communications blackouts. Humans were hiding something. He began compiling a report for the Council's Security Division. But he moved slowly, carefully. If humans were developing new technology, confronting them directly might be dangerous. Better to watch, gather evidence, and wait for the right moment. Back at the research station, Admiral Ji-Wan made her decision. She sent an encrypted message to Earth's military command. The message was simple. The project succeeds. Request authorization to begin full production. The response came back within a day. Authorized. Build the fleet. Prepare for deployment. Humanity will not be helpless anymore. Construction began on 20 more ships. Each one was built in secret facilities scattered throughout human territory. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel worked day and night. They all understood what was at stake. Dr. Bora stood in the observation deck of the research station, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council continued their meetings, making decisions that affected billions of lives. They still thought humans were weak and unimportant. That was about to change. Are we doing the right thing? Yun asked, joining her at the window. Bora was quiet for a moment. The Council's great law exists because they fear what dark matter can do. But fear is not a good reason to remain weak. We are doing what we must to survive. And if survival means becoming what others fear, then others will learn to respect us, Bora said firmly. One way or another. The Unseen Blade and its sister ships were nearly ready. Soon, humanity would show the galaxy that the rules were about to change, and those who threatened humanity would learn terror like they had never known before. The Thorian Empire had ruled the western spiral arm of the galaxy for 3,000 years. Their military might was legendary. Their warships were massive and powerful. When the Thorian Emperor decided he wanted the human mining colonies, he expected no resistance. Warmaster Grendak commanded the Third Battle Fleet. He had fought in over 100 battles and never lost. His fleet consisted of 200 warships, each one capable of destroying a planet's surface. When he received orders to take the human colony of New Busan, he laughed. Humans, he growled to his bridge officers. Barely 50 years in space, and they think they can hold territory we claim. This will be over in an afternoon. Grendak sent a message to the human colony. The message was simple and brutal. Surrender everything within one solar day, or his fleet would turn New Busan into ash. He expected panic and immediate submission. At the Galactic Council headquarters, human Ambassador Somin stood before the Council representatives and begged for help. The Thorian Empire was about to attack a peaceful colony. Surely the Council would intervene and stop this aggression. The Council's response was cold and disappointing. High Speaker Xyloth stated that this was a minor territorial dispute between two member species. The Council would not take sides. Both parties should negotiate peacefully. Somin tried to argue. She presented evidence that the Thorians were preparing for genocide, not negotiation, but the Council did not care. Most species secretly enjoyed seeing humans put in their place. Let the primitives learn humility. Somin returned to Earth and reported the Council's betrayal. Humanity stood alone. Fleet Commander Minho received the news while aboard his flagship in orbit around New Busan. He had only 12 ships under his command to defend the colony. Below on the planet, 3 million human civilians waited in fear. Minho studied the tactical displays showing the approaching Thorian fleet. 200 warships against his 12. The mathematics were simple and brutal. His fleet would be destroyed in minutes. Then the encrypted message arrived from Earth Military Command. Minho read it 3 times to be certain he understood correctly. His hand shook slightly as he activated the secure communications channel. This is Fleet Commander Minho to special units. You are authorized to deploy. Engage enemy Protocol 7. 3 ships detached from his fleet and moved forward. The Unseen Blade, the Ghost of Soul, and the Shadow Phoenix. They looked like ordinary corvettes, small and unimpressive compared to the massive Thorian dreadnoughts approaching. Lieutenant Yunji sat at the weapons station aboard the Unseen Blade. She had trained for 6 months on the dark matter systems. She knew every control, every procedure. Her hands moved across the console, activating systems that should not exist. The 3 human ships suddenly vanished. On Grendak's flagship, the sensor officer stared at his displays in confusion. "War Master, the human vessels have disappeared." "All energy signatures are gone." Grendak frowned. "Cloaking devices. Primitive tricks. Activate wide-spectrum scanners. Find them." But the scanners found nothing. The 3 human ships had not just hidden. They had shifted partially out of normal space, existing in a state between dimensions. No sensor in the galaxy could detect them. Grendak ordered his fleet to spread out and search. 200 warships moved through the space around New Busan, looking for 3 small vessels that seemed to have vanished completely. Then the killing began. A Thorian cruiser on the fleet's left flank suddenly exploded from within. Its hull tore apart like paper as impossible forces ripped through the interior. The ship broke into pieces, killing all 600 crew members instantly. Before Grendak could react, 3 more ships exploded. Then 5 more. Then a dozen. "What is happening?" Grendak roared. "Where are the attacks coming from?" His officers had no answers. Sensors showed nothing. No weapons fire, no energy signatures, no attacking ships. But Thorian vessels were dying one after another. Aboard the unseen blade, Yunji worked with calm precision. She selected a target on her display. The ship's dark matter torpedoes were already loaded. She pressed the firing control. The torpedo phased out of normal space the moment it left the launch tube. It traveled through a dimension where shields and armor meant nothing. It appeared inside the target ship's reactor core and detonated. Another Thorian warship died. "Target 47 destroyed," Yunji reported, selecting target 48. Captain Do-Hyun of the Shadow Phoenix was targeting the Thorian command ships. The larger vessels were priority targets. He watched as his dark matter missiles passed through the hull of a dreadnought and exploded inside its bridge. The ship went dark immediately, all command functions destroyed. The Thorian fleet was in chaos now. Ships fired their weapons randomly, hoping to hit something, anything. They shot at empty space. Some ships accidentally hit their own allies in the panic. Grendak finally understood what was happening. Somehow, impossibly, the humans had weapons that could attack from inside their ships. All their shields were useless. All their armor was worthless. They were defenseless against an enemy they could not even see. "Full retreat," Grendak ordered. "All ships jump to hyperspace immediately." But the human ships were faster. They phased through the fleeing Thorian vessels and destroyed their hyperspace drives before they could escape. One by one, the Thorian warships became coffins floating in space. Grendak's flagship was one of the last ships remaining. He watched his fleet die on the tactical displays. 3,000 years of Thorian military dominance ended in less than 20 minutes. A communication signal appeared on his console. It was an open channel from the human ships. Grendak accepted it, needing to see the face of his destroyer. Admiral Jiwon appeared on the screen. She looked at Grendak with cold eyes. "You came to destroy our colony," Jiwon said quietly. "You came to kill 3 million innocent people. The Council did nothing to stop you, so we stopped you ourselves." Grendak's pride broke. Fear filled his voice. "What are you? What weapons are these?" "This violates the Great Law." "The Great Law did not protect us," Jiwon replied. "So we protect ourselves. Tell your Emperor that human territory is no longer defensible. Tell him that if the Thorian Empire threatens us again, we will visit every Thorian world and turn their cities to dust. They will never see us coming." Grendak wanted to respond with threats and defiance, but he could only think of his crews dying in ships that were supposed to be invulnerable. He could only think of weapons appearing inside sealed chambers. Terror strangled his words. Jiwon's image disappeared from the screen. A moment later, Grendak's flagship shook as something materialized inside the engine room. He had seconds to scream before dark matter forces crushed the ship from within. The Battle of New Busan lasted 17 minutes. 200 Thorian warships became debris fields. Not a single human ship received even minor damage. On the planet below, 3 million colonists watched the battle through telescopes and sensor feeds. They saw their enemies destroyed by invisible weapons. They saw their protectors exact perfect vengeance. And they understood that humanity had changed forever. Fleet Commander Minho received reports from all 3 special ships. 0 casualties. All systems functioning normally. Enemy fleet completely destroyed. He sent a message to Earth Command. Mission accomplished. New Busan is secure. The secret is out now. The galaxy will know what we can do. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council received recordings of the battle. Every species watched in horror as humanity demonstrated technology that should not exist. They had broken the Great Law and turned dark matter into weapons of absolute terror. Vorath the Wise watched the recordings in his office. He had suspected humans were developing something dangerous. But this exceeded his worst predictions. Dark matter manipulation, weapons that ignored all defenses, ships that could not be detected or stopped. He began composing an urgent report to the High Council, but he already knew what the Council's response would be: fear, anger, and probably a very foolish decision to try to fight back. Humanity had just announced to the galaxy that the weak primitives were weak no longer. The balance of power had shifted in 17 minutes of terror, and nothing would ever be the same again. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of the Battle of New Busan. Representatives from 400 species filled the massive council chamber on Centralis, the council's homeworld. The air was thick with tension and barely controlled panic. High Speaker Xyloth called the session to order. He was old even by his species' long-lived standards, having led the council for 2 centuries. He had seen wars, plagues, and disasters. But the fear in the chamber now was different. This was existential dread. "We have all seen the recordings," Xyloth began, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "Humanity has violated the Great Law. They have weaponized dark matter. 200 Thorian warships were destroyed in minutes by an enemy they could not detect or fight. This cannot stand." The chamber erupted in shouting. Representatives demanded action. Some called for immediate military response. Others argued for sanctions and isolation. A few simply expressed their terror at what humanity had become. Ambassador Soman stood in the human delegation section, watching the chaos with a calm expression. She had been recalled from her earlier plea for help and now stood accused. But she showed no shame or fear. Councillor Drex of the Vryn Collective rose to speak. The Vryn were one of the oldest and most powerful species in the council. Drex was a warrior who believed in strength above all else. "Humanity must be disarmed immediately," Drex declared. "We cannot allow primitives to possess such weapons. I propose a military coalition to blockade human space. We starve them into surrender. We forcibly take their dark matter technology and destroy it." Many representatives voiced agreement. The Manthar, the Aquilian, the Rexari, 12 major species pledged their fleets to the coalition. Together, they could assemble over 3,000 warships. Xyloth turned to Soman. "Ambassador, you will now explain your species' crimes against galactic law, and you will agree to immediate disarmament or face total war." Soman walked calmly to the central speaking platform. 400 species watched her, most with hatred in their eyes. She took her time, looking slowly around the chamber before speaking. "No," she said simply. The single word created shocked silence. "No," Xyloth repeated, unable to believe what he heard. "You refuse the council's demand?" "I do," Soman replied firmly. "The council abandoned us when the Thorians attacked. You called it a minor dispute. You led an empire prepare to slaughter 3 million human civilians. We defended ourselves with the only weapons that could save us." Drex slammed his fist on his console. "You broke the Great Law. That law has protected the galaxy for 10,000 years. That law protected your power," Soman shot back. "It kept species like humanity weak and controllable. Well, we are not weak anymore, and we will not surrender what keeps us alive." Councillor Krell of the Manthar Dominion stood. "Then you choose war. Our combined fleets will crush you. You may have destroyed the Thorians, but you cannot fight the entire galaxy." Soman smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "You are welcome to try, but you should know something first. Our dark matter fleet is not stationed in human space." Confusion spread through the chamber. Xyloth leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Soman said clearly, "that right now 30 human warships are positioned throughout council space. They are in orbit around your homeworlds, your capital cities, your military headquarters. You cannot detect them. You cannot stop them. And if you attack us, they have orders to respond." The chamber exploded in panic. Representatives screamed demands and accusations. Security teams rushed to their posts. But everyone knew the terrible truth. If humanity's ships were already there, it was too late to stop them. On Earth, Strategic Advisor Hae-Yoon watched the council session through live feeds. She sat in the military command center with Admiral Ji-won and other senior officers. Everything was going according to plan. "Do you think they will back down?" an officer asked. Hae-Yoon shook her head. "Some will, but others will call our bluff. They will think we are lying about ship positions. We need to prove we are not." Ji-won activated a communication channel. "Captain Do-hyun, this is Admiral Ji-won. Execute demonstration protocol." Aboard the Phantom Storm, Captain Do-hyun received the order. His ship was currently phased in orbit around Vryn Prime, homeworld of Counselor Drex's species. The planet below held 16 billion Vryn citizens. Do-hyun targeted an uninhabited moon near the planet. He fired a single dark matter torpedo. The moon, a barren rock 200 kilometers across, suddenly imploded. Dark matter forces crushed it from the inside. The entire moon collapsed into a sphere barely 10 kilometers wide, then exploded outward in a spray of compressed debris. Every sensor on Vryn Prime detected the destruction, but no sensors detected the ship that caused it. Do-hyun opened a communication channel to the Vryn Military Command. "This is Captain Do-hyun of the Human Defense Force. That was a demonstration. The next target could be your cities. Stand down." Similar demonstrations occurred around 12 different Council homeworlds. Uninhabited moons, asteroids, or empty orbital stations were destroyed by weapons that appeared from nowhere. Each demonstration proved that humanity's threats were real. Back in the Council chamber, representatives received panicked messages from their homeworlds. The humans were not bluffing. The dark matter ships were really there, invisible and unstoppable. Counselor Drex's face went pale as he read reports from Vryn Prime. One of their moons was simply gone, destroyed by a ship they never detected. The military coalition began to fracture immediately. The Vryn quietly withdrew their pledge. The Manthar reconsidered. The Rexari decided they had other priorities. One by one, species that had promised warships now found reasons to back out. Xyloth watched his coalition collapse in real time. He turned to Vorath the Wise, who had been observing silently. "What do we do?" "We cannot fight them. But we cannot accept this," Vorath considered carefully. "We negotiate. Humanity has power, yes, but they also have limits. They cannot be everywhere. They cannot fight the entire galaxy forever. We find terms we can live with." But Xyloth shook his head. "If we negotiate now, we admit weakness. We admit that any species with enough power can ignore Council law. That has always been true," Vorath said quietly. "We just preferred to pretend otherwise." Summon still stood at the central platform, waiting. Finally, Xyloth addressed her again. "What does humanity want?" "Partnership," Somian answered. "Not domination. We will keep our dark matter technology, but we will use it to protect all Council species from external threats. In return, we want equal representation on the Council. We want access to Council technology. And we want the freedom to expand into territories you previously denied us." Drex stood again, rage in his voice. "This is extortion. You hold weapons to our heads and call it partnership. You held your rules over our heads and called it law," Soman replied. "The difference is that our weapons actually protect you. The void pirates that have plagued the Outer Rim for centuries? We can eliminate them. The extragalactic raiders your fleets cannot stop? We can stop them. You gain security you never had before." Counselor Xerix of the Aquilian spoke up. "And if we refuse your terms, you would destroy our worlds?" Soman's expression became serious. "We would prefer not to. We are not monsters, but we will not return to being powerless and ignored. Choose carefully." The Council debated for hours. Representatives argued, threatened, and pleaded. But the reality was undeniable. Humanity had power the Council could not match. They could either make peace with humanity or face war they would likely lose. Vorath finally addressed the chamber. "I propose we accept humanity's terms with conditions. They keep their dark matter weapons but agree to transparency about their capabilities. They defend Council space but under Council oversight. We move forward together, not as masters and servants, but as true partners." It was not a perfect solution. Many species hated it, but it was better than the alternatives. The vote was called. By a narrow margin, the Council accepted humanity's terms. The Galactic Treaty was rewritten for the first time in 10,000 years. Soman allowed herself a small smile of victory. Humanity had won without firing another shot. Fear had accomplished what diplomacy never could. But in the shadows of the Council chamber, Counselor Drex met quietly with representatives from several old guard species. They would not accept this new order. If they could not defeat humanity's dark matter technology in open battle, they would find another way. An assassin's blade could kill just as well as any weapon. And humans could still die like any other species. The conspiracy began forming even as the Council voted for peace. 6 months passed since the Council accepted humanity's terms. The new treaty was in effect, and the galaxy was learning to live with humanity's power. Chairman Minjin stood before the full Council assembly on Centralis. He was the leader of Earth's unified government, a quiet man who preferred diplomacy to threats, but he understood that sometimes power spoke louder than words. The first joint security operation begins today, Minjun announced. Humanity will demonstrate our commitment to protecting all Council species. The Void Pirates had terrorized the Outer Rim territories for over 300 years. They raided trade convoys, destroyed colonies, and kidnapped thousands of beings for slave markets. Multiple Council species had tried to stop them, but the pirates hid in asteroid fields and nebulas where normal ships could not follow. Admiral Jiwan commanded the Dark Matter Task Force assigned to eliminate the pirate threat. She had 7 ships under her command: the Eternal Night, the Silent Death, the Phantom Storm, and 4 others. It seemed like a small force for such a large problem, but these were not normal ships. Commander Ji-hoon led the assault aboard the Eternal Night. Intelligence had located the largest pirate stronghold in the Kavros Nebula, a place where sensor interference made normal naval operations impossible. The 7 human ships phased into dark matter state and passed through the nebula as if it were empty space. They emerged inside the pirate base, a converted asteroid station that housed over 50 pirate vessels and thousands of criminals. The pirates never knew what hit them. Ji-hoon's ships materialized inside the station's docking bays. Dark matter torpedoes destroyed every pirate ship simultaneously. The station's defenses tried to activate, but weapons appeared inside the control centers and disabled them instantly. Within 12 minutes, the largest pirate stronghold in the Outer Rim was nothing but debris. Not a single pirate escaped. Over the next week, human dark matter ships systematically destroyed every pirate base, every hidden outpost, every smuggler hideout in the Outer Rim. A criminal network that had existed for centuries was completely eliminated. Council species watched in amazement and growing concern. Humanity had done in 1 week what the Council could not do in 300 years. Security Chief Nari presented the results to the Council. Trade routes in the Outer Rim are now completely safe. Piracy has been reduced to 0. Merchant convoys are traveling without military escorts for the first time in generations. Ambassador Krell of the Manthar Dominion grudgingly admitted, "You have accomplished what we could not. The Outer Rim territories thank you." But not everyone was grateful. Counselor Drex saw only danger in humanity's efficiency. "You destroyed the pirates completely. No trials, no prisoners, no mercy. This is the justice you offer?" Selman responded calmly. "The pirates killed thousands of innocent beings. They showed no mercy to their victims. We showed them the same consideration they showed others. None." The debate continued, but the results spoke for themselves. Humanity had proven they could protect Council space. Trade increased. Colonies felt safer. Even species that hated humanity had to admit life was better with them as protectors. But protection had a price. Young Su, humanity's chief military analyst, presented the next proposal to the Council. "We have identified 17 sectors where extragalactic raiders frequently appear. These raiders have destroyed over 40 colonies in the past decade. We can stop them, but we need forward bases in those sectors." This caused immediate concern. Forward bases meant human military presence deep in Council space. It meant humanity's dark matter ships stationed permanently near other species' territories. Speaker Xerix objected strongly. "You ask us to allow human warships throughout the galaxy. How do we know you will not use them against us?" Minjin stood to address the concern. "Because destroying you serves no purpose. We gain more from protecting you than threatening you. Trade benefits us. Peace benefits us. We are not conquerors seeking territory. We are partners seeking mutual security." Vorath the Wise supported humanity's proposal. "The extragalactic raiders are a real threat. Traditional Council fleets cannot stop them effectively. If humanity can eliminate this danger, we should allow them to do so." The Council debated for days. Finally, they agreed to allow humanity to establish forward bases in defensive positions. Human ships would patrol critical sectors and respond to threats. The results were dramatic. When extragalactic raiders appeared in the Helios sector, expecting easy prey, 3 human dark matter ships intercepted them. The raiders' advanced shields and weapons meant nothing. Their ships were destroyed before they understood what attacked them. Word spread among the extragalactic civilizations. Council space was now protected by something they could not fight. The raid stopped. Admiral Jiwan reviewed the strategic situation with her senior officers. In 6 months, humanity had eliminated piracy, stopped extragalactic raids, and made Council space safer than it had been in centuries. "We have become the galaxy's protector," Jiwan said. "This is what we wanted, but it comes with responsibility. We must not abuse this power." Lieutenant Yunji, now promoted to tactical officer for the entire dark matter fleet, had concerns. "The Council species respect our power, but many fear it. Fear can turn to hatred. Hatred can turn to conspiracy." She was right to worry. In secret chambers far from Council oversight, Counselor Drex met with representatives from 15 species. They called themselves the Preservation Coalition. Their goal was to preserve the old galactic order by removing the human threat. "We cannot fight their dark matter ships," Drex said to the gathered conspirators, "so we attack their weakness. Humans themselves are fragile. Their bodies can be poisoned. Their genes can be targeted." A scientist from the Rexari species presented a bioweapon. "This is a quantum virus designed specifically for human biology. It remains dormant for weeks after exposure, spreading silently. Then it activates simultaneously across all infected individuals. Death occurs within hours." The plan was elegant in its cruelty. Release the virus on multiple human worlds. Let it spread naturally through human populations. When it activated, billions would die before humanity could respond. Without their population, humanity's dark matter fleet would have no purpose. The ships might survive, but the species controlling them would be gone. Drex looked at the bioweapon sample with satisfaction. "When do we deploy?" "We need 3 more weeks to produce enough virus for all target locations," the Rexari scientist answered. "Then we release it simultaneously on Earth, Mars, New Busan, and 20 other human colonies." The conspirators agreed. In 3 weeks, humanity's rise would end in pandemic death. But they did not know that someone was watching. Intelligence Officer Jamin worked in Earth's Covert Operations Division. His job was to monitor Council communications for threats to humanity. He had discovered unusual encrypted transmissions between several Council species. Breaking the encryption took him 2 weeks. What he found made his blood run cold. Jamin immediately reported to Chairman Minjun and Admiral Jiwan. "We have a conspiracy. 15 Council species working together. They have developed a bioweapon specifically targeting humans. Deployment is planned for 18 days from now." Jiwan's first instinct was to strike immediately. Use the dark matter fleet to destroy the conspirators before they could act. But Minjun stopped her. "If we attack now, we prove everything they fear about us. We become the monsters they claim we are. Then what do we do?" Jiwan demanded. "Let them kill billions of our people?" Minjun was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Finally, he looked at both Jimin and Jiwan with the expression of painful resolve. "We do something they will never expect," he said. "We tell the truth. All of it." Jiwan did not understand. "What truth?" "The truth about dark matter technology," Minjun replied. "The truth we have been hiding even from ourselves. What happened next would change everything once again. But this time humanity would not win through fear and power. They would win through something far more dangerous: honesty." Dr. Bora had not slept well in weeks. Every night she reviewed the data, hoping she had made a mistake. But the numbers did not lie. The dark matter technology that saved humanity was also destroying it. She stood in her lab on the research station, looking at simulation results. Dr. Hyun worked beside her, running the calculations for the 5th time. The answer was always the same. "How long?" Bora asked quietly. Hyun looked at the screen with tired eyes. "At current usage rates, space-time degradation reaches critical levels in 5 years. Maybe less if we increase the fleet size." Bora felt sick. The dark matter manipulation was tearing small holes in the fabric of reality. Each time a ship phased, each time a weapon fired, it damaged space-time itself. The damage was tiny at first, microseconds of temporal distortion barely measurable. But the effects were cumulative, and they were accelerating. What happens when it reaches critical levels? Bora already knew the answer but needed to hear it said aloud. Cascade failure, Hyun said flatly. Space-time unravels in an expanding sphere. First the solar system, then neighboring systems. Within 20 years, it could consume the entire galaxy. Humanity had built weapons to save themselves, but those weapons would eventually destroy everything. Bora sent an urgent message to Admiral Ji-won and Chairman Min-jun. They needed to know immediately. The dark matter technology had to be stopped before it was too late. The message arrived while Min-jun was preparing his speech to the council about the conspiracy. He read Bora's report twice, then sat in silence for several minutes. Ji-won found him in his office, staring at nothing. Chairman, we need to move against the conspirators. Every hour we wait puts us in more danger. Min-jun handed her the report. Read this first. Ji-won read quickly, her face becoming pale as she understood the implications. The dark matter technology is destroying space-time. If we continue using it, we destroy the galaxy, Min-jun finished. Everything we built our power on is poisoned. We have to stop. But if we stop, we lose our only advantage, Ji-won protested. The council species will turn on us. The conspirators will deploy their bioweapon. We will be defenseless. Min-jun stood and walked to the window overlooking Earth below. Billions of people living their lives unaware that their protectors had discovered a terrible truth. We have a choice, Min-jun said slowly. We can keep our power and destroy the galaxy, or we can give up our power and trust that honesty will save us. Ji-won knew which choice they had to make. She hated it, but she knew. 3 days later, Chairman Min-jun stood before the full Galactic Council. Every species watched, expecting him to address the conspiracy or make new demands. What he said instead shocked everyone. The Galactic Council has always prohibited dark matter manipulation, Min-jun began. You were right to do so. We were wrong to break that law. Confused murmurs spread through the chamber, Min-jun continued. Our scientists have discovered that dark matter technology damages space-time itself. Continued use will cause cascade failure that could destroy the galaxy. The Great Law existed not to control others, but to protect everyone. He displayed Bora's data for all to see. The simulations, the calculations, the terrible predictions. Some council scientists quickly verified the mathematics and confirmed it was accurate. Humanity's dark matter fleet must be dismantled, Min-jun declared. We will destroy our own weapons to save the galaxy we endangered. The chamber erupted. Some species celebrated, seeing humanity finally humbled. Others were confused, wondering if this was a trick. A few were genuinely concerned about the space-time damage. Then Min-jun played his second card. But before we dismantle our fleet, the council should know about another threat. He displayed intelligence officer Jamin's evidence of the conspiracy. Names, communications, plans for the bioweapon. Everything was revealed publicly. The conspirators tried to deny it, but the evidence was overwhelming. Counselor Drex and 14 other species had planned genocide against humanity. Vorath the Wise stood, his old face showing disgust at his fellow counselors. So both sides committed terrible crimes. Humanity broke the Great Law. The conspirators planned mass murder. Where does this leave us? Ambassador Soman took the speaking platform beside Min-jun. It leaves us with a choice. We can destroy each other over past crimes, or we can work together to fix what we broke. She presented humanity's proposal. Humanity would immediately begin dismantling all dark matter warships. The technology would be destroyed, never to be used again. In return, the Council would grant humanity full access to conventional weapons technology to rebuild their defenses. The conspirators would face justice through Council courts, not human vengeance. And together all species would work to repair the space-time damage before it became irreversible. We are offering trust, Soman said to the assembled council. We give up our ultimate weapon and trust you will not destroy us for it. Can you offer the same trust in return? The debate lasted for hours. Species argued about justice, punishment, and forgiveness, but gradually a consensus formed. Counselor Drex and the other conspirators were arrested. Their bioweapon was destroyed under council supervision. The charges against them were severe. Attempted genocide carried penalties of permanent exile for their entire civilizations, but Min-jun argued for lighter sentences. Punishment without mercy creates only enemies. Justice with understanding creates allies. The council agreed to trials but also rehabilitation. The conspirators would serve their sentences, but their civilizations, would not suffer collective punishment. Then came the hardest part. Admiral G1 personally oversaw the dismantling of the dark matter fleet. One by one, the ships that had terrified the galaxy were deconstructed. The Unseen Blade, the Eternal Night, the Ghost of Soul, the Phantom Storm, all were taken apart piece by piece. Lieutenant Yunji watched her ship, the Unseen Blade, being dismantled. She had been its weapons officer from the beginning. Seeing it destroyed felt like losing a part of herself. "We built something incredible," she said to Captain Do-hyun, who stood beside her watching his own ship being deconstructed. "We built something terrible," Do-hyun replied. Incredible and terrible are often the same thing. Engineer Taemin led the space-time repair efforts. Scientists from across the galaxy worked together, using combined knowledge to heal the damage humanity had caused. It was slow work requiring precise calculations and careful energy manipulation. But slowly, the tiers in space-time began to close. The temporal distortions decreased. The universe started healing. 1 year after the revelations, the last dark matter warship was destroyed. Humanity's ultimate weapons were gone forever. Chairman Minjun stood before the council again, this time as a true equal rather than a supplicant or a threat. "Humanity has completed our part. We are now defenseless by choice, trusting in council partnership." The council's response came swiftly. They granted humanity access to advanced conventional weapons technology. Human shipyards began building new fleets using fusion drives. Plasma weapons and quantum shields, powerful, but not reality-breaking. More importantly, humanity gained what they truly needed: respect. Species that had feared humanity now admired their courage to admit mistakes. Species that had hated humanity now worked alongside them to repair space-time. The galaxy learned that humanity's real strength was not their weapons, but their wisdom to know when power itself became the enemy. Dr. Bora returned to Earth and wrote her final research report. In it, she concluded, "We reached for godlike power and nearly destroyed ourselves and everyone else. We learned that true strength is not in the weapons we can build, but in knowing which weapons should never be built at all. The great law was not oppression. It was wisdom earned through ages we had not lived. We were arrogant to think we knew better, but we were brave enough to admit our mistake before it became irreversible." Vorath the Wise visited Earth for the first time since the crisis ended. He met with Minjun privately in the human leader's office. "Your species surprised us," Vorath said. "We expected you to fight to keep your power. Instead, you gave it up freely." Minjun smiled slightly. "We learned something important. Power that requires fear to maintain is not really power at all. It is just a different kind of weakness. And now, what does humanity want for its future?" "The same thing we always wanted," Minjun answered. "To be respected as equals, to contribute to the galaxy meaningfully, to protect ourselves and others without threatening everything. We achieved that goal, just not the way we expected." Years later, historians would mark this period as the Awakening, the time when humanity and the Galactic Council both learned that true civilization requires wisdom, not just strength. The dark matter crisis became a lesson taught to every young being across the galaxy. It taught that forbidden knowledge is forbidden for good reasons. It taught that power without restraint leads to destruction. And most importantly, it taught that admitting mistakes requires greater courage than making threats. Humanity never again possessed weapons that could terrorize the galaxy, but they became trusted partners, valued for their ingenuity, respected for their integrity, and admired for their courage to choose wisdom over power. The galaxy remembered the dark matter warships not as humanity's greatest achievement, but as their greatest lesson, that the measure of a civilization is not in what power they can wield,